I'm 10 Weather Impact meteorologist Michael Behrens, back with another episode of the 10 Weather Impact Show here on 10 TV Plus, and we're tracking a much different weather pattern than what we had this time last week when temperatures were very much like summer. We've now gone full force into the fall season, and those temperatures are taking a hit. In fact, we're going to see some of the coolest air we've seen in quite some time as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. So let's go ahead and dive into things with you here. We're looking at a forecast that includes some pretty chilly temperatures as we head into the days ahead. We're dropping into the 30s as we head through tonight. That means you need to layer up before you go outside tomorrow morning. It is going to feel like fall out there finally across the region. And take a look at this, just ever adding more counties to frost advisories as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. Those frost advisories now stretch all the way from our northern counties where they were in the noon hour, now all the way down toward the south, including us here in Franklin County, and all of the 10 TV surrounding counties now under frost advisories. That'll be in place after midnight tonight until 9 a.m. tomorrow. It's only our southeastern counties that are not under a frost advisory. So watch out for those frosty conditions. If you've still got plants, if you've still got gardens outside, keep in mind that you'll need to protect those sensitive areas of vegetation from potential frost as we head into Friday morning, because it is going to get chilly out there across central Ohio. This afternoon, not all that warm either. Lots of sunshine. This view from the side of Audubon, it looks very pretty outside, but temperatures are deceiving. It is 62 degrees outside. Say goodbye to that summer-like air. It's not outside right now. Kind of crisp as you step outside. Definitely a different air mass across central Ohio. Those temperatures out there, we're not going to get much warmer than where we're at right now this afternoon. We're only talking about mid-60s for highs today. You can see even some 50s still out there, like Caldwell and McConnellsville in the 50s right now. The rest of us hold on to those low 60s, mid-60s for the afternoon. We get even colder again as we head toward tonight. That's why those frost advisories will be in place as we head toward tomorrow. Allergy index out there, if you're going outside, the ragweed is still the biggest problem. Moderate for those ragweed conditions. The molds have dropped to a low level. Trees and grasses, not particularly an impact this time of the year. If you're heading outside, though, it is plenty of sunshine for the rest of today. Again, those temperatures not really moving much. The clear skies out there, that's the detriment for tonight. That's part of why our temperatures get so low. We're talking quiet weather, quiet winds, and clear skies. That means temperatures fall down into the 30s across central Ohio. We're thinking about 39 here in the city, but as soon as you get outside the city, those temperatures could get much, much colder. We're talking mid, even potentially low 30s for some of those outlying areas between now and tomorrow morning. Get ready for that cold blast of air to head our direction. As far as other impacts in the forecast, other than the fall-like air, really, it's not much. It's very quiet out there. In fact, our only chance for rain comes late Saturday into Sunday. We've got about a 20% chance for rain that'll enter the forecast, but this is going to be a very small chance for rain. We're mostly heading back into that dry pattern once again, with a lot of zeros on the map as far as rain chances go in the next 7 days. You can certainly tell that here on the satellite radar. Only clouds up to the north coming off of the lake. No rain to be spoken of really anywhere in the Midwest. There's a light shower out toward western Missouri, and that is about it. So get ready for another extended period of dry weather. You can see that here hour by hour as we head through the rest of this evening. Very quiet, not even a cloud passing through. Similar picture between now and early Friday, and then all day Friday, same thing. A few clouds come drift by as we head into the afternoon, but that is going to be it. That next chance for rain will jump forward just a little bit. This is Saturday morning. You can see a little disturbance up to the north. That may be close enough to push a shower or two down towards central Ohio as we head into Saturday night, early Sunday. You can see a much bigger tropical system working its way along the east coast. That moisture not going to impact us. Should stay off toward our east. We're expecting to stay dry here in Ohio, at least for right now, but of course those tropical systems can meander some, so we will keep a close eye on that. And of course, if that brings any changes to our forecast, we'll be the first to let you know here at 10 TV. Other than the cold temperatures, really quiet and fairly average looking forecast. We're chilly to today, mid-60s and sunny. We're down in the 30s tomorrow morning. We're back up near 70 by the afternoon. This is what the average day for this time of the year should look like, with a temperature near 70 for this time of the year. And that means finally a seasonable first and 10 forecast as we head into this Friday. Warm-ups out there, gonna feel like fall. We're talking upper 60s, plenty of sun, not a bad condition out there. We'll kick the game off with temperatures in the mid-60s. By halftime, those temperatures, they've almost hit the 50s. If you're outside the city, I think you will be in the 50s by halftime, and just about everyone expected to be in the 50s by that final score Friday night. From there, we do gain a little bit of warmth as we head into the weekend. We're still staying mostly dry. A small chance for rain late Saturday into early Sunday. Temperatures expected to be in the low 70s. Our morning lows not as bad, only down in the 40s. That continues to climb as we head toward next week. Temperatures will push their way up into the 40s again, close to 50s in the mornings, with temperatures that'll be low 70s to mid 70s come the afternoon. And that gets us a little bit back into above average territory. I know people have been enjoying that weather. As far as chances for summer-like temperatures again, I wouldn't rule another day out this year, but I think we're going to start to see fewer and fewer of those as a fall-like weather pattern finally starts to move back into central Ohio. It feels like it's been forever since we've been able to see those fall-like temperatures, but we finally got some of them to look forward to over the next 7 days. And speaking of fall weather, well, this time of year, it's also known as apple picking weather out there. Certainly feels like it gets you in the festive spirit. And whether your favorite apple is a Pink Lady, Golden Delicious, or maybe Granny Smith, they all definitely taste better when you go out and get them hand-picked from an orchard in this kind of weather. But big tech actually could be making that experience a little bit different now that drones and GPS are modernizing that old apple picking tradition. Bradley Blackburn reports on this story.
Apple trees at New York's Fishkill Farms have yielded fruit for more than a century.
Last I counted, over 80 varieties of apples.
Wow. And owner Josh Morgenthau is the third generation of his family to care for them.
I grew up not wanting to see what had happened to other pieces of the farm, sold for housing development, happened to this.
This was once a commercial farm, but today pick your own produce is the bulk of the business.
That's a good one.
Families like the Winters come to enjoy the fall bounty.
We come here specifically, one, because it's beautiful, and two, because they offer organic options as well, and we really like that.
Technology helps make every pick possible. Fishkill Farms uses timed online reservations to manage crowds that topped 100,000 last season. And they developed a GPS map that shows guests their location in the field on their phone and which varieties around them are ripe.
Let's say, for instance, we got picked out of a Crimson Crisp, or they all passed their ripening window. We can take it off, or enable it or disable it.
And it changes from week to week.
Changes on a daily basis.
The farm relies on computer-powered pest forecasts to minimize insecticide use. And Morgenthau even uses a drone and GPS-mapped mower to carve his annual corn mazes.
And it's not easy for farms, and the way that local farms like us have been able to stay in business is by being adaptive.
Apples to apples, a lot has changed.
The simple pleasures.
To help an autumn tradition thrive. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, Hopewell Junction, New York.
And other than the cooler temperatures, this time of the year is also one when dry weather can lead to wildfires. And while thankfully we're not tracking any threats like that this week here in Ohio, we are learning new information about a fire earlier this year on the West Coast in the Palisades fire in California. We now turn to KCAL News in Los Angeles for the latest on an arrest made connected to that fire.
29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck has been charged with destruction of property by means of fire, but certainly more charges can be added as more evidence is presented in court. As we know, that could include homicide because at least 12 people died in the Palisades fire. Currently, investigators say they have sufficient evidence to pin and prove Rinderneck was the only person who was on scene where the initial fire started on January 1st. That fire being the Lockman fire, which they believe Rinderneck lit shortly after midnight, adding he was working as an Uber driver dropping people off at the Palisades where Rinderneck lived at the time. Those passengers telling investigators Rinderneck appeared to be angry or agitated. Investigators say while Rinderneck lied about his whereabouts on New Year's Day during questioning, cell phone data actually pins him to that location. They also say they found digital evidence generated from one of his searches, rendering bone-chilling pictures of people fleeing from fire-burning communities. And they were also able to determine he was listening to a French song shortly before they believe he started the Lockman fire, a song that talks about burning things down.
Over the course of the last 8 months, investigators conducted hundreds of interviews, including witnesses overseas, and pursued more than 200 leads.
And so investigators explain the Palisades fire stemmed from the Lockman fire that broke out January 1st, the same fire they say was seemingly put out on the surface but continued to smolder underground. Adding on January 7th, weather conditions caused it to resurface, and that's when the fire burned the Palisades community, killing at least 12 people. Officials did not point to one specific motive, though they do say that Rinderneck seemed to have a fascination with fire. In downtown Los Angeles, Lustelia Caballero, KCAL News.
And this news comes after a weekend where hundreds of neighbors from the Pacific Palisades community gathered for lunch with The Longest Table. That's a nonprofit which organizes huge outdoor potlucks around the country, usually in one long line of tables down a closed street. Organizers also pushed people to stop by local Palisades restaurants to help keep the goodwill going.
We have all gone through so much to get back here. I mean, literally, we've quite literally walked through fire to get back here. And so there will be an appreciation. And I mean, I want to say a sisterhood. It's going to be a family that will be unique.
It's certainly good to see that community recovering. Turning now to outer space and a new shocking event from Texas. Lots of people saw an object floating over the southern plains. And well, we've learned it wasn't a weather balloon, but it was a research tool for NASA. They didn't mean for this thing to end up on a farm in Hale County, but something didn't go as planned and it came down with a parachute. Ann Walters and her family owned the farm where it landed, and she said after realizing it wasn't a weather balloon, she called the Hale County Sheriff's Department, and it turns out they had actually already heard from NASA, who was out looking for the object. Ann says she was able to talk with one of the researchers working for the space agency, who said it was launched from Fort Sumner in New Mexico and was doing what it's supposed to do, but the wind over West Texas ended up pushing it off course.
Winds changed this morning around 4 a.m. and it took it this way. So it took it more northeast. And so I don't know if that's what they were wanting it to do, but that's what happened. And I guess the piece of equipment figured out what coordinates looked the best to land. And it did land in someone's, crop, but it didn't land on the sprinkler, so that's good.
Those things are expensive, so definitely good it didn't land there. Pretty wild image, though, to come see in your field. The device is said to float high in the atmosphere near the boundary of outer space and is used to capture clear and accurate pictures of stars, galaxies, and other celestial objects. The data is then used to support NASA research, and says it took the crew a few hours to come get that big old thing off their farm. And in other space news, leaders from multiple national science, education, and space organizations gathered with lawmakers outside the Capitol in Washington to urge Congress to protect budget funding for NASA and the National Science Foundation. Scientist Bill Nye, who's also CEO of the Planetary Society Advocacy Group, says government funding is essential for space exploration.
This is not a luxury. It is a responsibility. Article 1. Section 8, Clause 8 of the U.S. Constitution recommends to Congress that they promote the progress of science and useful arts. It's in the Constitution.
The Planetary Society says the White House proposal to cut NASA's science budget threatens to be a, quote, extinction-level event for exploration of space. And finally today, let's check out some new video into us here at 10 TV. This is from WFOR, our affiliate in South Florida, showing residents of Hollywood, Florida, not Hollywood, California, who had to deal with something called a king tide. According to the EPA, the king tide is the highest predicted high tide of a year for a coastal location, and it's above the highest water level reached on a normal high tide on an average day. A king tide is a normal occurrence, happens once or twice every year in coastal regions. They occur when the orbits and alignment of the Earth and Moon, as well as the Sun, combine to produce the greatest tidal effects you'll see during a year, which does make them predictable. You can see the impacts, though, of these king tides as residents had to navigate flooded streets despite the sunny weather. Kind of an interesting situation to be in because you're not getting a storm, you're not getting a hurricane, you're not even getting rain. But all that water comes rushing onshore. Can certainly be disruptive to your day, but I'm sure they've seen that before down there in Florida, so at least they're kind of prepared for it, but still not something you want to have to deal with. And that salt water, definitely not good for your vehicle. And finally today, let's check this out. Colorado Parks and Wildlife officers, they responded to a trapped bull moose in a canal above Pinewood Reservoir. This was in late September. Bureau of Reclamation crews arrived on scene and had strapped the moose's antlers to a fence to help keep its head above water. Then CPW officers sedated the moose with a tranquilizer so they could work on freeing that animal. Once it was asleep, officers used a crane from the BOR to lift the moose out of the water, and the moose was in good condition with a frayed hoof. Officers administered wake-up drugs and observed the moose as it got back on its feet. It was, of course, a little bit exhausted from the experience, but eventually was able to stand on its own. That rescue took about 2 hours total. There's a stretch of the canal without fencing about a mile north of where the rescue happened, and it's possible that the moose had entered the canal in that spot. So good to see that they got that moose out of the water and back on the loose out there in Colorado. Certainly a crazy experience, but ended for the best. That's always good news there. Speaking of crazy experiences, kind of describes the weather here in central Ohio, especially as of late. It has certainly been a wild ride from rain, heavy rain. We set some records earlier this week. We had the hot temperatures this past weekend with temperatures well in the 80s, and now we've got the complete opposite of that. A lot of cold weather heading back our way. Again, we got those frost advisories that are popping up all over central Ohio. Those go into effect later tonight, so you want to make sure you stick around here this evening as Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz, he'll be here to break down the latest on those frost advisories, how cold things are going to get tonight and how much longer before that warmer weather moves back in. Of course, we'll keep an eye on that rain chance for the weekend. It's small, but we never take our eyes off it. Until then, you can always catch more news and weather. That'll be online 24 hours a day, 10tv.com or on the 10TV app. Have a great afternoon, and of course, make sure you share this video on the 10TV Plus app with your friends.